Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, hi Rahul.
Hi, So, good evening, everyone. This is Rahul from 3SR Consultancy, and welcome back to our DG Shiksha channel. So, as you know, we are a learning organization. We focus on developing careers, and also we help MSME organization. So, this is a time when the world is changing, and a lot of focus is on data analytics and how do we handle data and derive intelligence for conducting our businesses. Today, we have a very august we have a very ex, an expert on data analytics with us, Anu. So we would like to gain from what she has to share on her experiences on data analytics and business analytics. So welcome Anu to for this session, joining us, and like to know to begin with what led you to get into this field and developing your core expertise in the field of data analytics and business intelligence.
Thank you, Rahul, for a very warm welcome. Basically, it happened that one of our customer who was a telecom operator, they were the main operator in that circle. But the licensing had opened up, and they were getting competition from other second or third or fourth operators who were coming into the market. So they wanted to defend their own forte, wanted to defend their own subscribers from moving into new operators. It was becoming very competitive. So that is where they wanted to make sure that they were competitive on all fronts in terms of network strength, in terms of customer care service, in terms of response time to customers, in terms of packages of different billing plans that they have. So that is where the analytics they depended on. They wanted to start into analytics, and that's where my journey started. This was in year 2002 and 2003.
Okay, so it's a long journey, and
Yeah.
it's really great to have a kind of a person like you with such a kind of vast experience. So, in the current situation where we are in the midst of this all coronavirus, and there's a lot of fear among people. So, what is the importance of business analytics and data business intelligence for the businesses?
See, basically, with Corona pandemic happening around the globe, it has impacted all walks of industries, whether it is manufacturing or service-oriented or process-oriented industries. The only industry which seems to do okay or are competing hard are the pharmaceuticals. They are working hard to invest to figure out some vaccine or some treatment for proven treatment for COVID. But the rest of the industries are having a very, very tough time in terms of they surviving. Many of them have closed down. The recent stories of Atlas Industries, cycle manufacturer in Ghaziabad, and likewise, other industries have a major impact across the globe. But if you really look at it, it has been an opportunity or boon for some of these companies as well. Like I was just reading on that a Giant Group, which is a big manufacturer in Taiwan, they have sold about more than 1 million bicycles in just last 3 months because the citizens there have adopted to cycling as a mode of transport rather than public transport. So it's an opportunity also for some of the industries to break into new ventures. But yes,
Mhm.
overall, I would say at least 80 to 90% it is a matter of crisis.
That's right. So, when we talk about business analytics and business intelligence, does it impact? Does it get applied in all industries, or there are some specific industries where they are kind of used?
Well, I think it is applied across, I would say, majority of the industries, especially wherever you have a customer interaction, and your interaction is so huge that it's difficult. It's not humanly possible to keep track of one-to-one, for any individual. And in times to come, the manpower will be shrinking. So the optimization of whatever data that you have or the database you have has to be optimal in terms of effectively serving your existing customers. To give you an example, like even the hospitals today are doing telemedicine, which means that whatever customer patient data they have is also now in data form. And now, if suppose I decide to visit, I have been on a telemedicine kind of a platform, but if I decide to visit the hospital to interact with my doctor, again, that information, whatever I've exchanged so far on the mobile, will be required. So, the sensibility of data or the requirement of data is really becoming huge. And another way to look at it is wherever you have an event or wherever you have a transaction, whether it's a school, student is taking an admission, or there is a seminar, people are participating, there is an exhibition, you have a booth, people are walking to the booth. So all these are human interactions. So all these are kind of an events which can help you in analyzing your interactions. So they're all potential cases for data analytics.
Okay. So looks like it's a kind of a very kind of lot of activities involved. So so for a layman, if we want to kind of define business analytics in one sentence, so how will you kind of help us help one understand what business analytics is?
So normally, in I would say in a decade or 2 decades ago, people used to normally look outside the organization for specialized experts and consultants who would come and guide them how to venture out into new domains or into new territory. But today the things are different. Everybody has to know where, on what ground do they stand, which means that you have to understand the data which exists within the organization to figure out how has been your services and what are the points of weakness where you can improvise. So data analytics or data intelligence is looking inwards and picking up that data within your organization and then going outwards to improvise on it. That's the way I would summarize it.
Okay. So also on this channel, I know like there are a lot of students who are hearing us, and a lot of times we get a question from them that as a career, if they have to choose data analytics, so what kind of opportunities and career prospects they have looking at 5 years from now?
See, if you really look at it, that data analytics or data analysis started, I would say, about 2 decades ago. And today it is far spread out, and it's spread out across verticals. So basically, the project or whatever work you need into analytics involves into 3 steps. First is collecting of data, which is sanitized, which means that there is no bogus records or there are no faulty records, or there is a continuity in the data, though no missing records, no missing fields. So that is the starting point. And then comes the second point, which is storage of it. That it grows on a daily basis, it grows on a need basis. So how do you store it and how do you access it from there? And then third layer comes is of the analysis. What kind of analysis you need to do? Is it a routine analysis, it is on the fly analysis, or it is once in a month kind of a monthly report analysis? So what are those kinds of analytic steps that you want to take? And attached with this is the other aspect of visualizing. Whatever results you get from the analysis have to be shown to a layman, maybe a head of marketing department, maybe a head of customer care department, maybe somebody in the network planning department, that see our network is faulty here, or we have more call drops in this area. So those kinds of the cases. So visualization comes as a nutshell. It's more like a dashboard of a car. Any car you sit in, if you don't have a dashboard, you'll be clueless about what's the mechanics of the internals of the car. So business intelligence and business analytics is the final step.
Okay. And when we talk about, say, how we do it, so what are the tools which are generally used for doing this business analytics and deriving intelligence out of that?
Okay, so basically it depends on what is your starting point. Where are you, which kind of domain you're working. To give you an example, suppose you're in a telecom, then the telecom switches, whether it is SMS, whether it is data connecting packet, or it is a call detail record, or it is a LAN to mobile record, landline to mobile call. So those kinds of calls are generated and you have a data as a starting point. But suppose if you're working in a hospital data, then you'll have various kinds of reports which are in different formats. Some are MRI reports, some are blood reports which are in textual PDF format, and some are like, X-ray films. So all these are digitized in today's sense. So, and those have to be made accessible or to be stored in some central ways. So you have to look at what kind of data you have, and then you will start using the tools. At the lower level, which is called as data collection point or data transformation point, there are many freeware tools available which help you convert one kind of record into a generic record so that you can synergize. And when you come into the middle layer, which is the storage, you have a lot of data warehouse and data mining software like big data solutions. Hadoop is one, but there are many more. You can even have a proprietary. Like in our case, we use totally proprietary database. Another good example is Google. Google is the world's biggest repository of data storage of all the websites and keywords across the globe. And we don't even know what kind of database they use. They use their own proprietary database. So that's also a good way to go for. And the third is the visualization. Even in visualization, you have a lot of tools like Google Analytics, which gives you a dashboard kind of charts and line charts, bar charts, pie charts, and graphs and historical and hot graphs, heat graphs rather, where you can see which is the sensitive area. Many of the corona trends are being shown, and those kinds of graphics on the TV channels as well. So those are the visualization tools. The other tool which is kind of binds all most of these things together is language. The fifth generation languages that we see today, like Python and language R, are also very attractive and easy to use for data analytics solutions. So that's these are some of my inputs on this front. Though 20 years ago, 20 years ago we used Perl, and we did a benchmark with its performance with C, and we found that C or C++, we found the Perl performed almost at par with C, C++ code. So, but the code size was very minimal. It's just about, if you had 5,000 lines of code in Perl, that would be about 50,000 lines of code in C, C++. So our choice was to go for advanced languages like Perl or Python or R.
Okay. And you used a term big data. So
Right.
we'd like to know what is big data and what are the challenges in with big data.
See, once you're, the lowest layer, you are sure that your data is totally sanitized and it is streamlined, you're getting data on a regular basis, then it has to be stored somewhere. It has to be hosted somewhere. That is where the big data concepts come in. There is Hadoop, which was a very popular form, I would say, which is kind of became popular in 2007 and 2008, but somehow it has lost its steam. So there are many other tools which are coming up equally well. And there are also some databases we used called UniSQL, which is an object-oriented database where you could store video files as one object, and different people could be viewing different versions of different instances of that video file without having extra load on the server. So there are very advanced databases which help you in giving those kinds of solutions. And the reason we say big data, because it's growing continuously. So it has to be whatever analysis you are doing, that has to be equally consumed on a daily basis, processed on a daily basis, so that you can have a upper hand on the whole size of the data. Otherwise, if there's a backlog, it's not fruitful. Then your whole analytic engine goes for a toss.
Okay, so from the viewers, there is a question coming up. In which scenarios we would use Python and which scenario we would like to use R language?
Okay, very recently, I would say in last week or so, I came across an article which was saying that Python is more popular for business analytics, and R is I what I have understood. See, both these languages are fifth generation languages. What it means is they basically work at an array level or at a data record level. They don't work at a field level. Typically, if you were in C or Java, you would extract a record and you would work at a raw field level. Whereas both these applications, both these languages are very powerful. You can just write a single line of code to plot a huge graph, and the graph could be of 5 years data. So that's the power of these languages. And when you look at R has a very extensive, in fact, even Python has, but R has very extensive statistical modeling libraries built with it. So if the end user or if the developer is inclined towards statistical model, see, statistics was not my forte. I'm an IT person and we don't have much exposure on statistics. And if somebody is looking from a statistical modeling point of view, then yes, they can use various libraries and visualization tools which are built in R. Whereas Python also has an exhaustive tools of third-party libraries which are free, but you'll have to spend time in evaluating which one to go for. Another example I can give, suppose you are launching a new mobile handset with advanced features and you would like to compare of existing smart mobiles in the market, existing handsets, and so that you can figure out what should be the end price that you should keep for your mobile. So I would say that in market we would have about 2,000 to 3,000 mobiles handset variety today. So in that case, R would be much easier to program. It's probably a 1 week job to program in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And then
interesting.
you can change, the language with it, and you get instant results. So you don't need.
So seems there. So seems like we are not having good connection with Anu. So uh, yeah, yeah, Anu. Thanks, thanks. You are back. So my the next question is regarding what strategies can a business use so that both business as well as customers are kind of win-win.
Can you just repeat that again?
So what strategies should a business use so that the business as well as customers they are
Mm-hmm.
they are both earn out of this business
Okay,
intelligence and business
okay, got you,
analytics.
got you. Basically, see, what happens is, let's say, most of us are mobile users and are associated with a mobile operator for quite some time. Like I have my Airtel connection since 98 or 99, right? And I have not changed. My number is the same since then. But I may not know my usage from month to month. So as a telecom operator, they know my usage pattern. It keeps changing. If I'm traveling abroad for for some vacation to my brother's place, I'm out of the country for 2 to 4 months at a stretch. So maybe my bill could be reduced to a basic rental. So those kinds of strategies they can search where the usage is rather than I keep paying a hefty amount. And the operator that we did the business analytics for, they were using such kind of schemes to make the customer aware, especially prepaid customers. They are not aware of what kind of recharge plans are available and what kind of prepaid packages are there. So if your usage is very high, you could migrate to an upper plan so that you don't pay too many high taxes or the commission to the agent who's activating your plan. So those kinds of approaches work to a very large extent. And another thing is it also helps you build loyalty. So if you there are schemes like bonus points, there are schemes like miles. So all these are one of the some of the ways to make the customer stick to the company.
Okay, great. So when we talk about so much of data about customers, etc., and all the other businesses, so how do we ensure there is enough confidentiality about that, and there is no kind of data break-in?
Okay, see, typically, if you really look at the security of this data, the responsibility lies totally with the IT team. Because even if you don't have business analytics or business intelligence, the data has to be secured and should not be accessible through public networks. Or even within the organization, limited people should have access, rightful access to it. But when people work on the analytics team, they are supposed to they have access to the entire data. So the integrity of the team which is working on it is very important, and you can do some trial runs to figure out whether they are doing some pilferage or not. And there is a very limited chance of exposure to, again, if I take an example of a bank or like ICICI Bank, if somebody is working on analytics data there, they can see all my bank details and all the transaction I'm making, which should not get leaked out from there. So the integrity of the team actually working on it is most critical. Otherwise, the IT infrastructure is definitely the main gateway to any such external threats.
So again, there's a question coming up from the audience. So any example of any other industry where DA has created impact?
Oh, there are many. If you really look at it, I would say retail, ITC. I can give an example. We all use Ashirvad Atta, and they found that when they did some their customer study, they found that in the south, people they are not wheat eaters, so and they did not prefer ITC Ashirvad Atta so much. So they found that the reason for this is because there the people normally customers normally prefer finer grain. Like in north, we like coarse grain. Uh, the wheat should be coarsely ground, whereas in south they want it's more like a naan kind of a bread that they prefer to eat, lacha paratha or those, especially in the Malabar area. So the Ashirvad Atta packaging is the same, but the contents in these two regions are different. So this is from one of these studies of business analytics. Another example is, in the banks, if you work with private banks, the moment you interact with any customer care person there in the bank face to face, the first thing, the moment they see the balance in your account, they say, "Ma'am, आप ऐसा करो, mutual fund ले लो, आप ऐसा करो, आप insurance scheme ले लो." So they try to upsell. So this is all because of the analytics they keep doing, and you keep getting promotion mails from various sources on these lines.
Okay, great. So again, I'm coming back to our students. So these days, a lot of innovative ideas come, and a lot of students they want to start on their own as a startup
Mm-hmm.
after their graduation or so. So what kind of guidance you can kind of give them so that they can have a successful kind of a career as a kind of a entrepreneur?
See, one is the size of data. Sometimes it's overwhelming. So one is they should get that fear out. And typically, when you start working on analytics, it's like you have a haystack and you're not looking for one needle, but you're looking for, let's say, 20, 30 needles. So it's not going to happen in one shot. So you have to keep trying, and the more you keep playing around with data or try to observe the various patterns, your confidence level goes up. uh, and the starting level would be to start with data cleansing, data analysis, the frequency of data, how do you get it regularly, what are the various kinds of fields, what are the ranges of the fields. And I would say the best resource would be to start from NSE website, which is stock market. Every day you have daily records of the all various stocks how they performed on a particular day. What was the highest price? What was the lowest price? What was the opening price, close price, and the volume? It's free data, and you can go back to 2 or 3 years or 4 years data to look at it. And there are hardly about, I would say, maximum about 3,000 to 4,000 companies which are listed, out of which trading happens on about maximum 2,000 companies. So it's not so big that it is unmanageable, but then it is realistic, and it's really available for free, and it is global. Stock exchange you have globally in the world. That's one
Mm-hmm.
part. Second part would be to play around in terms of its storage, like I talked about. So you could use various tools which are there, freeware available, to do hosting of it. And third would be visualization. In fact, Microsoft has also come up with some tool called Tableau, which helps you in
Mm-hmm.
visualization of analytics data. So there are ample examples. Even if it's a small data, let's say it's a data of some school where you're analyzing the performance of students from 9, 10th, and 11th, 12th, so as to what kind of streams they should take, what subjects are their strengths. So it's a fairly small data. So even an Excel may serve the purpose. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say it depends on tool is just like, today you're driving Maruti, tomorrow you're driving an Accent or Corolla. It doesn't matter which car it is, as long as you know how to drive a car. So the confidence should come in using whatever minimal tool that you are exposed to.
Okay. So actually, there's a related question that which is the best tool for analytics? So would
Mm-hmm.
you like to add something apart from what you have said in to the previous
See,
question?
there's nothing called best tool, because whatever tool, either ready-made you pick it up or you develop on your own. It should fit the solution. What is working in a hospital, I cannot apply in telecom. What is working in telecom, I cannot apply it in banking. What I can apply is my experience, that how to go about analyzing data, or how to go about sharing the data or a dashboard with the end users. But the tools will have to be very specific to the vertical that you're working on, like MRI reports. When we are talking of another example I can give you is, if you're working in, let's say, financial Ministry of Finance or income tax department, they would have PAN card images, they would have your Aadhaar card images, or links with banks accounts. So this will be totally different aspect of. So don't be fearful of, or don't be keen to use an external tool. What tools were available 10 years ago are no more valid. We used Perl. Perl is no, or has not much relevance today. Python
Mm-hmm.
has replaced it. So tool
Mm-hmm.
may have a short life, but the concepts and playing around with the concepts and hands-on is more, which I would say counts.
Okay. So uh, uh, there are a lot of things which we can continue keep on discussing,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
due to paucity of time, I like to stop here. And it has been a great interacting with you, Anu. Uh,
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing all your